Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one. I hope you all had a good one because the weekend's over and it's Monday. And welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. Once again, it's been a pretty slow news week, although there are a couple of things that we can talk about. To begin with, and this kind of references the shenanigans that publisher Krafton was getting up to in its efforts to avoid paying a $250 million bonus to Unknown Worlds, the developers of Subnautica 2, that I covered last week and the week before. And it's to do with the developers of Last Epoch. No, I've never heard of it either. It's a game that reviewed quite well, apparently 3 out of 5 on Eurogamer, 7 out of 10 on Steam, so not great, but definitely not bad. Certainly good enough to justify a sequel, and to that end, everybody's current favourite evil publisher, Krafton, have bought them out. Horrible timing for the development team, 11th Hour Games I think they're called, because the news of the buyout occurred basically the week after all of the horrible negative publicity that Krafton had earned for itself by trying to screw over the Subnautica 2 developers, Unknown Worlds, out of paying them a $250 million bonus for doing exactly what they had contracted them to do. 11th Hour Games' his founder, in a week when I'm sure he'd rather be celebrating the fact that he's managed to keep the lights on and food on the table of his development team for at least another year by securing themselves a publisher, instead was forced to just run damage control because that publisher was Krafton, saying, "We're aware of the situation with Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds. I don't want to comment on it directly, but after understanding it more deeply, it isn't something that concerns us entering into the partnership at all." Huh. Brave words. Why is that exactly? He continued. "Krafton isn't looking to change us," he said in another reply to a fan sceptical of what the buyout could mean for the studio's future. He added that while looking for a buyer, it was the only publisher that was the most aligned in the mission and enabling us. Which is a fancy, Weasley corporate speak way of saying the publisher, Krafton, have promised to simply supply us with the funds that we need to continue development and have promised not to interfere on any level. Which is exactly what Krafton promised. And this is in writing, exactly what Krafton promised the Subnautica 2 developers, right before firing the 3 founders, replacing them with their own manager, who has never developed a successful game, and delaying release until next year, so that they didn't have to pay the development team the $250 million bonus that they promised them in the original contract if they managed to get the game out into early access this year. Exactly what they promised the Subnautica 2 development team. And look how that ended up. So, you might be aware, I certainly am because I live in the UK, that Britain just introduced mandatory age verification on any adult or not safe for work website or apps. You basically have to prove that you're over 18 before you can even go onto a huge range of websites or use a huge range of apps, even apps that are not by definition not safe for work or 18 or over, like Discord for example. Yeah. It took a full 24 hours, in some cases probably a little sooner, for people to start figuring out ridiculously easy ways to get around the age verification process. So it usually works in one of two ways. Either you provide some form of identification, passport for example, driver's license, anything like that. Basically anything with your date of birth and photo ID on it. This then gets scanned and there's your age verified. The other method is called face scan, and it basically does exactly what it says on the box. You take a picture of your face and then the app or service that's doing the verification process uses AI to determine whether or not your face looks old enough to view adult or not safe for work content. It took the internet, at least 24 hours to figure out a way of getting past, like in an insultingly easy and hilarious way of getting past one of these facial recognition services. It's called KID. It's the one that, amongst others, Discord uses to verify the age of any users who want to unblur or change settings on the Discord sensitive media filter, when they want to change message request settings, or when they're trying to access age-restricted channels. So, and honestly, this is just hilarious. Here's how you get around it. You open up Discord on your phone, You open Death Stranding's photo mode, the Hideo Kojima game starring Norman Reedus. Yeah. You go into the photo mode in the game, you prepare a close-up of Sam Porter, the game's main character, played by Norman Reedus, Daryl from The Walking Dead. Yeah. Him. Because the KID verification process is designed to weed out imposters, it asks users to open and close their mouth to verify that they're a real person, so you can't just submit a photograph of somebody who looks over the age of 18. But thanks to Kojima's attention to detail in the game, that's easy enough to do because Sam's expression bar lets you pick through a whole range of facial expressions. And this works. This is all it takes to get past the age verification system that Discord, amongst, I'm sure, a huge other range of websites and apps, are using to verify the ages of their users. It's not the thing that it's funny, but it's not really the thing that concerns me the most about this whole thing. Because if you're using some kind of facial ID system like this for an AI to basically estimate your age based on a couple of seconds of video, it's bloody annoying, but it's not really that much of a security issue. But the other age verification process that is being used here in the UK, one where it uses a scan of some kind of identity document, that concerns me. Because there is actually a government ID verification service. But that's not being used for any of this, because as usual, the government proposes and it looks for the cheapest possible way of doing it. It's getting third-party services to do the age verification, so it doesn't cost the government anything. It's fairly typical. The government says, okay, you all need to do this now, it's the law. Everybody says, and who's paying for that? And the government says, we can't hear you. Oh, look, behind you, a three-headed monkey. So the verification process gets passed on to third parties who are clearly not doing it for free out of a sense of charity. They need to make money by providing this service. And if they're scanning your identity documents, I can think of a couple of ways to make money out of doing that. All of which is completely illegal, of course. The Data Protection Act and so on here in the UK forbids them from saving that information and selling it on to interested fourth parties. And every single one of them swears up and down that they're 100% absolutely not going to do that. They're only supposed to hold on to this documentation for as long as it takes to verify your age, and then they're supposed to purge the information. And I'm sure they're all doing that. Because, what possible monetary gain could there be had from holding the personal information of millions of British citizens? Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. And even if they do have the purest of intentions, and they're not going to be selling your personal information off to the highest bidder, and while I don't have the greatest of trust in the data security of the British government's official age verification systems, I do at least trust them to not retain that data. Because they're the ones that wrote the laws that prevent you from retaining that data. So, practice what they preach. And yes, I know that's not 100% guaranteed to be the case, but I trust the government's age verification process and services, or should I say, while conceding that, nothing's 100% secure, I trust the security of the government's age verification systems way more than I trust the security of some third-party company that was thrown together overnight in advance of this whole act becoming law in order to take advantage of and run a quick profit from it. So, yeah, no, not even slightly. Or you could just use a VPN and say, actually, I'm from France. That works too. Although, that opens up another whole can of worms. Because one, it's not only just pathetically easy to get around this whole age verification system, but I feel pretty confident in saying that if most people looking to use a VPN to get around this whole age verification thing, and they've got a choice between a free VPN or something that they have to pay a subscription for, they're probably going to pick a free VPN. And there is a shocking amount of malware out there posing as things like free VPNs that are going to absolutely ruin the security of your computer system should you be dumb enough to install them on your system. But most people aren't tech savvy enough to even be aware of the threat that something like a free VPN can pose. There are so many downsides to this new law. So many threats to your privacy and your security just to ensure that a bunch of 17-year-olds can't look at tits. In other news, and it is related because we are staying here in the UK, the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology just signed a memorandum of understanding with OpenAI. The announcement was of course accompanied by the usual meaningless drivel spouted both by the politicians responsible for signing and drafting the memorandum and the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman. But it's the meaningless drivel spouted by Sam Altman that I thought was particularly worthy of being repeated here because it is, quite frankly, hilarious. He said, and I'm quoting him directly here, AI is a cortex. I'm really going to find it hard to say this with a straight face, so if I burst out laughing halfway through, you're going to have to forgive me. He said, AI is a core technology for nation building that will transform economies and deliver growth. Britain has a strong legacy of scientific leadership, and its government was one of the first to recognise the potential of AI through its AI Opportunities Action Plan. Now it's time to deliver on the plan's goals by turning ambition to action and delivering prosperity for all. Oh, fuck off. First and foremost, if you're trying to build an AI industry now, in 2025, anywhere in the world, regardless of how much money you throw at it, and they have apparently already committed £1 billion to building more data centres in the country, but regardless of how much money you throw at it, you are already and always are going to be at least 5 years behind the USA and China. It is physically impossible for you to catch up. But among all of the various different tech bro, pie in the sky, great ideas club schemes that people are proposing to harness the power of AI, and I'm not just talking, honestly, seriously, you go onto something like Amazon, you just look for AI products, you will find AI in fucking everything. I have seen toothbrushes that apparently come with some kind of AI. But this one, has anybody seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise? It didn't do particularly well. Not one of his most famous or successful movies. I believe it was based on another Philip K. Dick novel or short story. But the basic idea was that the police had this division called pre-crime, which they had a bunch of mostly vegetative, practically comatose precognitives. People who could see the future, and they could predict with a high degree of accuracy, not 100%, but a high degree of accuracy when a murder was going to occur. So you could be arrested, charged and convicted of a murder that you never actually committed because the pre-crime division concluded that you were going to do it. Science fiction, right? In April of this year, it was reported that the British government was developing an AI murder prediction algorithm which it hopes could identify the members of the population most likely to become killers. The government insists it's just a research project. In response to, well, a whole bunch of things like this, Wayne Holmes, a professor from University College London's Knowledge Lab, said the following. Strap yourselves in, kids, because this is going to be good. Policymakers and idiots around the world are just getting sucked into this hype fest, believing the nonsense that these tech bros are saying, that this is going to sort everything, can help solve the problems of the world, and cancer is going to be solved in 3 weeks, poverty in 5 weeks. It's utter drivel and neoliberal nonsense. OpenAI and others like it, terrible, terrible companies, and to invest or have a memorandum of understanding with them is just crazy. OpenAI is an incredibly unstable company that could collapse at any time. They are just working really hard to enhance their immediate value, and then clearly this memorandum is going to help them in that project, because they're just interested in making as much money as quickly as they can, because in my opinion, they know they're hitting a brick wall. Are these tools fun to play with? Absolutely. Do they do silly and interesting things? Yes, they do. Do they do anything that I personally would trust? Not in a million years. So the idea that our government is going to trust it is just absurd. Say what you mean, Professor. Yeah, well, anyway, moving on swiftly. In more gaming-related news, Microsoft just announced that the price of the Outer Worlds 2, which you can currently pre-order on Steam, is being reduced from $80 down to $70. I just want you to let that sink in for a minute or so. Well, a couple of seconds. We don't have all day, so just take a couple of seconds to think about that. The Outer Worlds 2, from $80 down to $70. I have a couple of questions. First of all, what the fuck is the Outer Worlds 2? And why would anybody in their right minds want to pay $80 for it? I mean, I know what the Outer Worlds 2 is. I played the Outer Worlds. It was alright. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't great, but it certainly wasn't bad. It provided a sufficient amount of entertainment for the money that I paid for it, even though it was kind of short. But it was a decent game. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy $80 of it though. So why Microsoft would think that a sequel is the kind of thing to... I mean, you know, we're not talking Grand Theft Auto 6 here. It's the Outer Worlds. You need to dial your expectations back. It's never going to be worth $80 of anybody's money, and why Microsoft thought people would pay $80 for it in the first place is beyond me. So they have caved in to pressure, or possibly shockingly bad pre-order sales, and reduced the price down to $70. So, end of story. Yeah? No! What do you mean, $70? It's the Outer Worlds. It's not Grand Theft Auto 6. Who the fuck is paying $70? Oh my god. Do you think they did this on purpose the whole time? Do you think they originally wanted to charge $70 for this game? They thought nobody is ever going to pay $70 for a sequel to the Outer Worlds. And then one of them said, hang on a minute. I have a plan. A cunning plan. A plan so cunning you could stick a tail on it and call it a fox. What if we say we're going to charge $80 for it? And then when everybody, you know, because there's going to be inevitable backlash, because nobody's paying $80 for a sequel to the Outer Worlds. But if we then say, okay, we've heard you, and in response to your complaints, we're dropping the price down to a thoroughly reasonable $70. Yeah, I mean, that sounds believable to me. That sounds like the kind of shit that Microsoft will get up to. I have no problems whatsoever believing that. And I think it's a fairly solid indication of just how far Microsoft have sunk under their current leadership. That I would 100% believe that they were entirely capable of pulling that kind of shit. Do you remember the good old days? They weren't that long ago. I'm talking about when Electronic Arts was the great Satan, the evil games publisher, and none of the other publishers could even hold a candle to the depths that Electronic Arts would stoop to in order to relieve your wallet of your precious dollars. And now, Electronic Arts is starting to look good. I mean, they're not. They haven't gotten any better. It's just that the others have all gotten so much worse. And on that bombshell, I guess that's it for this episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you all enjoyed it. Even though I didn't have anything good to say about anything. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.